Hello again, fellow audiophiles. I am Wave Theory, and this is the Danacables Lazuli Rhapsody headphone cable. This particular unit is terminated in a 4-pin XLR on the amp end and a dual 3.5mm connector on the headphone, and these are AECO connectors, or ACO or ICO, or however you say that, all right, on here, which come with this line of headphone cables for HiFiMan and other dual 3.5mm free of charge. Okay, this cable, free of additional charge, I should say, because this cable costs between $2,300 and $2,700 US depending on length and other options that you get here from Gingko Audio's website, which I will link to in the description below. This is on loan to me from Gingko Audio. To my knowledge, it will be going back soon after I am done with it, although I hope that isn't for a while, because this is really good. I mean, this is really good. If you heard my previous review, or saw my previous review of the Danacable Lazuli reference, you also heard me say that there were some connection issues with the dual 3.5mm connectors and HiFiMans 3.5mm jacks on their Susvara and HE1000 SE. This one has solved that issue as best I can tell, so stick around to learn more about that as well, and we'll just get that out of the way right away. Also, this is the dual 3.5mm version of this cable, but Danacables offers these with compatibility with Abyss AB1266, Odyssey headphones, Meze headphones, and it has the Lemo connectors for Focal Utopia as well. I'm not sure about the final D8000 series. I am looking into that, and I will let you know in a comment down below what answer I get to that as soon as I can. Okay. But with that, let's go ahead and do shameless self-promotion, and then we will dive into my review of this, I know expensive, but really quite excellent headphone cable. Here we go.
Hi, I'm Wave Theory's human companion, and he wants you to know that your support of this YouTube channel helps keep the reviews coming. If you enjoy Wave Theory's honest, thorough style, then make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and check out the links in the description below to sign up for the Patreon or send him a tip through PayPal. All right, enjoy the musings.
All right, the Danacables Lazuli Rhapsody here. This is the dual 3.5mm version that's compatible with HiFiMans and other headphones that have dual 3.5mm where this barrel will fit. Okay, it's not a super thick barrel here, but if you have a headphone that has a recessed jack in it, like, you might have some issues with fit there and that sort of thing. One of the reasons that HiFiMans fit, is because HiFiMans fit just about anything, is because they have the flush-mounted jacks on their cups here. This is the Susvara, but again, the flush-mounted here, no recessed jack in the cup or anything, is standard amongst HiFiMans lines. So, this cable will work fine with the Susvara, any of the HE1000s, or any of those HiFiMans there. Don't really know why you would spend this much on a cable to use with Aria or something like that. But, for example, this just came in. This is the final D8000 Pro LE, the limited edition, and final has these recessed 3.5mm jacks in there that come stock with a locking kind of connector on them, and these will not fit in there, so that's something to keep in mind. I have asked if they have a final option. That sounds a little bit odd to say anyway, but I asked them if they have, if Danacables will offer an option that you can special order to fit a final headphone like that. Also, what just came in is the Modhouse Tungsten. This is the double-sided Mimic Edition. And it has recessed 3.5mm jacks too, and actually these fit in here just fine. Okay, it goes all the way in, no problem there. So if you wanted to spend the money for a Danacable on the tungsten, and again, I just got this in, so I can't tell you whether or not that's worthwhile, but stay tuned. It does fit, if that matters to you, so that's just something to keep in mind. All right, real quick here, what is the Rhapsody, and why does it exist here? So the Rhapsody is kind of the, I want to say it's it's somewhere in the middle of Danacables Lazuli line. Like the reference that I showed you is like second from the bottom, or the reference that I reviewed in a previous video, which I still have, okay? That is right here. This is the Lazuli reference with a lanyard to help it see why in the review video that I did for this one. This is about $1,000 and all of that. This one is like the pricing on the Rhapsody costs between $2,300 and $2,700 depending on length and other options that you want to order. What the Rhapsody line is my understanding, is that it is a replacement for the now retired Lazuli Ultra line, and I have a Lazuli Ultra in-house at the moment, turns out, but it's for Utopia, okay, because a friend of mine is a Utopia user, and he's like, he knows I have a Utopia, and he's like, hey, you need to hear this Lazuli Ultra cable on a Utopia, and he was right, I did need to hear that. So what's going on here? Why is the Rhapsody taking over this? Well, for one, this Ultra series cable is very, very stiff, and it's got lots of memory, and it's like stiff to the point where when I have this on my head and a Utopia on my head, because I can't have anything else with these connectors, but anyway, but when I've got the Utopia on and I'm using this, like just the weight of the cable, this part right here kind of sits right on my chest, as is normally the case with a headphone cable, and if I were to turn my head, these are stiff enough that it will push the ear cup of the Utopia away from the side of my head when I turn it and all that, breaking the seal and all of that. So to like really effectively use this with a Utopia, you pretty much have to sit still and look straight ahead. Now, that's with Utopia, but the stiffness here is enough such that I think this cable would do that to a lot of headphones out there. But this Ultra series cable here, the Lazuli Ultra, sounds fantastic. Like the audio quality that you get out of it is just amazing, as are all of these Lazuli cables anyway. So what Danacables has done is they've reworked their kind of middle tier, if you will, and created this Rhapsody line. And one of the differences here is that you see like this one has a weave on it instead of the solid sheeting, okay, that comes with the reference line and what I just showed you about the Ultra line. And what that does here is this creates a really like a much more supple cable, and that's hard to communicate in this vantage point right here. So what I'm going to do real quick is cut to another little video clip where I show you just the increase in flexibility and softness and suppleness that this thing does in fact have over both the reference and also crucially over its predecessor, the Ultra line. So let's look at that real quick and then we'll come back. To demonstrate that the Rhapsody is actually more soft and supple than some of the other Lazuli cables that I've had around, particularly the now retired Ultra line, we're going to do the extremely scientific, just let them drape over a tabletop test and see how much they stick off of the edge, all of that. So what I've done here is I've put the three Danacables that I have, the three Lazulis. Here's the reference, this is the Rhapsody, and then in the back there we have the now retired Ultra line there. And you can kind of see, if I get this flush with the tabletop here as best I can, that the reference, you know, when it's draped over on either end like this, and I tried to get about as much material draped off of either end as I can, okay, it sticks up a little bit off the tabletop and all of that. The Rhapsody lays pretty close to flat, and then the old, and again, now retired Ultra line sticks up quite high above there. Also look over here at the ends here. So here's the reference line, kind of dangles that way there, and then you see that the Rhapsody cable there, it mostly drapes down. It has a little bit of memory to it, but it's, you know, it's softer yet than this one. But look back here at the reference line and how much like it kind of hangs off here and then it like loops back around on itself like this. Like this one just is very thick and like maintains its position a lot. Like I can bend it around like that if I want to, and then but you still see that it's like sticking up off of the table, you know. Oh, that one just completely rolled off. Anyway, that one's like sticking off of the table more than the Rhapsody is, period. It's just a stiffer cable. So the Rhapsody here is definitely an upgrade in terms of its flexibility and how soft and supple it is, and the weave helps with that, but also the material inside helps with that too. Okay, I think that's enough to illustrate that point. All right, so sum up what I just showed you here. Like, I found the Rhapsody cable here to be the most ergonomically friendly and also the most comfortable to use of the three Lazulis that I have had the experience of using. So it is still heavy because it is a low gauge, okay, heavy cable. So you're going to be carrying some extra weight on your head regardless, but the softness of it means that that weight distributes on the tabletop a little bit more friendly, and like it, you know, it just doesn't ever really feel like it's pulling down on you quite as much as the other two do. And again, like the reference is not as bad as the Ultra. This is just a definite huge step up from the Ultra in terms of the comfort and ergonomics and flexibility and general usability and all of that. Okay, another key point that I need to make here about this Rhapsody cable, and one of the reasons that Danacables sent it to me, is because when I reviewed their reference line cable here, I said that these two, that the 3.5 millimeter connectors on it here, for whatever reason, they were a bit on the thin side. Apparently not all 3.5 millimeter plugs are created equal. And so on my Susvara, on my HE1000 SE and all of that, for example, like the 3.5 millimeter jacks on those are a bit on the like loose and splashy side, and the combination of the weight and stiffness of this Lazuli cable and the looseness of the jack in there would cause these to move around a little bit, and I would get some cutouts, okay, some signal cutting in and out when I would turn my head, move my head, and all of that. This lanyard helped with that because it helped carry some of the weight, all right, from the neck instead of just from hanging off of the headphone here, so that helped, but it was not a complete solution. So the static and cutting out and all of that was an issue here, and I talked about that in my review video where I reviewed this, did a little mini review of it. But like when it is connected and it is working and you're not getting those cutouts, like this thing sounds amazing, right? And so again, go see that review to where I talk about how good it sounds. So what Danacables did here is they put these AECO, or is it AECO? ICO? How do you pronounce it? Or you just say AECO? I don't know. Anyway, these AECO 3.5 millimeter connectors on it. And for whatever reason, they must be just a hair thicker in the shaft there than the 3.5 millimeters were on the reference line, because these fit into the Susvara and the HE1000 SE jacks. Okay, not necessarily tight. It's not a tight fit, but it is a more snug fit. Okay, and there's a lot less wiggle on there, and I cannot remember a single instance of these having static in there when I've turned my head, or of them cutting out. So these connectors, in my experience here with my headphones, really solved that cutting in and out issue. So that is a big thing. So I'm not clearly seeing the AECO connectors as an option on the website yet, but I have an email question about whether or not those will be seen and what the pricing is. And when I get that information, if I get it back in time to actually put it in the video, I will get it into the video. If not, I will pin a comment down below answering that question, okay? Along with whether or not you can order these for a final headphone. All right, so let's talk about sound then. And here's the thing, I'm just like, this best sounding headphone cable I have ever heard, okay? And I haven't heard all of them out there. It is probably the best sounding headphone cable I've ever heard. The only other one that might beat this one is I did hear the DHC Preon 4 when I had the Abyss AB1266 5TC headphone in for review a couple of years ago now, and that could be the best cable. I don't know. I just, like, to me, the 1266 just really did not work for me. So I don't, you know, I can't give that cable a fair review, a comparison to this one either. Even so, that's like almost twice as much money as this, I think. Okay, I'm going from memory, but I want to say the Preon is in the $4,000 range and this one's in the $2,000 range. Anyway, This cable is the best, is like just the best one that I can say that I've heard so far. Like, it just sounds so good. And honestly, it's almost upsetting how good it sounds. And like, let me explain why I say that. It's because, look, I advocate for the fact that cables matter. Okay, they do. I have a video series explaining some of the science behind why, and I'm going to be expanding that video series as time allows. And I know that that's taking a while, okay? I'm a full-time professor. I have a family. I have a mortgage and like a full-time job and all of that outside of this audio reviewing thing. So just please give me time to get back to that. But it is going to happen at some point. All right. So I know the science behind cables. I know that it is completely realistic to expect that we will hear cable differences. So that's not an issue for me. But here's the thing. I'm not a wealthy person. I'm not made of money. I am a comfortable middle class, okay, kind of person here. And again, I have that family, I have a mortgage, I have all of that. I am well aware that $2,300 just sounds like so much for a cable. And it is a lot of money for a cable. I personally don't want to spend that kind of money on a cable, and I personally struggle with the value of that at any point. So I came into this review hoping and really wanting this to not just floor me with its sound quality, and for me to say that, you know what, okay, sure, they fixed the connection issues, but just buy this one, the $1,000 one, which is already pushing it for a lot of people, maybe even most people, just buy that one. But I can't say that because this is so good. It is so good, okay? Let me explain why and like how it compares and contrasts to the $1,000 reference line here. So this one is just a copper conductor, just a copper, okay, oxygen-free copper. This one is a combination of copper and silver. I believe it is a silver-plated copper, okay? And the difference between these two is really stark, and I heard it immediately, and it almost made me mad for reasons that I just explained to you, because, like, just as I think about system building, spending $2,000+ on a cable is just not something I really want to be able to need to do. I just don't want to need to do it, okay? But this is making a strong case for itself, okay? So what are the differences here? The Rhapsody, a cleaner, quieter background. This cable, the reference, was already super clean, super quiet, very low noise floor as compared to a lot of under $1,000 headphone cables. Like, it very clearly made a difference there. The reference cable is already very smooth, very tonally balanced and all of that, but all of that just gets kicked up, like not just one notch, just several notches with the Rhapsody cable. It sounds even more smooth, even more well tonally balanced, even more natural and organic and all of these things than the reference does. Like, again, to the level that it just frustrated me. It made me mad about it because of how much better it was. All of that, like, I was completely floored, did not expect as big of a gap as there is. It's just this, you know, it argues for itself. It argues for itself if you listen to it, honestly, okay? But beyond that, the holography of the spatial presentation, there was a better sense of, like, the soundstage didn't increase in size over the reference series, but the imaging and the separation in it just became much more three-dimensional and holographic and like lifelike and believable. It was incredible, and it's in all three dimensions, laterally, okay, in the depth dimension, in the layering, and then also in the height and all of that. Like, it just made a difference in all three dimensions, and there's just a much better sense of, you can tell where the instruments are and also where they are not. And to some extent, I mean, I think Golden Sound argued this once upon a time, and I kind of agree with him. I think he's mostly on the right track here. Like, if you go to a symphony, and there are 70+ musicians in this horseshoe shape up on the stage, you really, if you're sitting back in the audience, you can't really clearly define, like, the space between two adjacent violinists, for example. And that's true. But this one starts to make you think that you can, but it does it in a natural way. It does not sound fake. It does not sound artificial or anything like that. It starts to make you believe that you're there. In a way that, I mean, this one starts to do that. This just does it so much more. Okay. And so, like, it just, I don't really know how to keep putting this into words other than, like, those are the things that stand out a lot more. It's just like, and then of course the texturing and the subtle little details and all of that come through more anyway. Now, this one also has a little bit more treble presence than this one. And some are going to say that because this one is just a touch brighter, that like what I'm hearing in the increase in spatial accuracy and resolution and that sort of thing is just because of a treble boost. No, it's not just because of a treble boost. It's in the bass. The bass is more subtly textured here. It's in the mid-range. Room reverbs just hang in space a little bit more naturally, and it's like you get an even cleaner sense of like how far away the back wall is based on how long it takes those reverbs to get there and like what they sound like when they get to you, more so than this one. And so, again, this cable, much more than this cable, and this one was already darn good at it. This cable right here is just a much more believable sense. It's just like you're there. You're there, much more than this one. So I don't know what else to say other than that, yeah, it costs an arm and a leg, or at least an arm, okay? Maybe half a kidney, I don't know. It's expensive, and it's a piece of wire. I get that that's going to upset some people, and it kind of upsets me. But again, it argues for itself. It sounds incredible. I don't know what else to say after that. Like, I mean, if you're frustrated, I get it, and I share it. But just listen to it. If you've got the scratch for it, and you have a Susvara, I mean, oh my goodness, my Susvara just really comes alive through this thing. Okay, sounds really, really good. Yeah, sometimes it's almost like listening to a completely new headphone. All right, I'm rambling there. Do you get it? Do you get how good this is? Okay, and the thing is like Danacables has already said they're going to send me their Lazuli Nirvana here in the near future. And if that makes another jump up above this one, like this one did above that one, you're probably going to get another video just like this in the near future. So good job to Danacables. This sounds amazing. They solved the cutting in and out issue with these connectors right here. And this is just a much easier and more comfortable to use cable than either this one or especially the old Ultra line, which this Rhapsody line is replacing. So I will leave it there because I'm just rambling at this point. So thanks for watching. Please check out my, my PayPal and my Patreon. Like this video if you haven't yet. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Leave a comment down below because I expect that there will probably be a lot of comments about this. All right. Yeah, so thanks again for watching. And as always, enjoy the music.